the Microsoft Defender, the benefits, and how we can make use of this as a business and as individuals. So, Adekunle, if you don't mind, can you just take on the floor to get started?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Rafiah. Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, from wherever you're joining us from, because I know we've had different people and we have different time zone on this call. But it's great to be back. I want to say it was a long break since I was here, but I'm sure I don't have any excuse, I would say, but then I'm glad to be back to this platform. This is one community I actually hold very dear to my heart because it actually represents the Microsoft 365 community in Nigeria. A lot of people where we started from, how far we've come, while we've been able to use this product to impact life, also impact ourselves before we probably impact others. So it's glad to be back here. I would say today's session is actually on Microsoft Defender. So just to give a brief background, Microsoft Defender is actually your security solution in Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365 is your productivity suite that allows you to do your email and collaboration, provides cloud services, also allow you to do some level of administration of users for you to manage your emails, your collaborations, your SharePoint sites, OneDrive, as the case may be, and every other applications in it. But with this productivity in place, Microsoft over time has noticed or has found out that there needs to be some level of security to be able to protect whatever content, whatever data, whatever email that is being sent, inbound and outbound from your tenant. And by tenant, I mean your Microsoft productivity suite that belongs to you. So if there's anyone on this call, I'm sure most of us are very familiar with M365. If we are not, it's a good place we can start from. You probably want to discover or uncover how to probably create a tenant. When you create a tenant, add your users, play with licensing, play with the email services, Teams, other applications that's part of the Microsoft 365 productivity suite. Before we now talk about the security side. But today, like I've said, we will just have a overview of the Microsoft Defender XDR. I would want to say that if there are any questions, because I may not see my screen, that's why we have Rafiah moderating for us on this call. You can easily, probably, if it's a burning question and you want to ask during the slides, because I'll be sharing my screen in a few moments and we'll be walking through some slides to talk about this. So if there's any question you probably want to stop me, you can easily raise up your hand. There is a button to raise up your hand on Teams. I'm sure you're familiar. And if you're not, it's just the raise icon on these Teams. Yes, Rafiah just did. And you'll notice our box actually is marked with a yellow sign. So if you can raise up your hand, she can always call my attention and then we can take your questions. Because I know as we go through the slide, you may have questions and you may not be able to wait. Or if it can wait, you can easily just drop it in the chat and we can maybe pick it up at the end. So what I intend, like I've said, is to share my screen now. We'll walk through a PowerPoint slide that talks about the Microsoft Defender XDR. And then later on, we'll see a walkthrough of the admin center, the Microsoft Defender admin center. So everything we shall be seeing in the slides, we'll also see how it works in the admin center. But first off, I may have to apologize that you may not find real data in that tenant because it's actually a demonstration tenant. You may just find some things and you may not find everything, but it will just give you an idea of whatever we'll be talking about from this slide. So please let me know when you can see my screen. And I may also have to turn off my camera so that you're not distracted or so that we can all just focus on the slides that would be shared. So just a moment, I would be sharing my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen, please. Is it this one? Okay, I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. Just a moment. Okay, it's this one. So please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, I think it's almost. Okay, yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay,
now we can see our screen.
Okay. Just a moment. Yes. So like I said, the topic before us today is the Microsoft Defender XDR. overview. So it's an overview of what Microsoft Defender actually means. We would see the levels of configurations, the levels of administration you can actually do with Microsoft Defender. We'd also explain what Microsoft Defender actually means in its entirety. So Microsoft Defender's XDR is, like I've said, it's your security system on your productivity suites in Microsoft 365. So if you look at Microsoft 365 as a landscape, it contains your emails, your collaboration apps, contains identities, that's your users, the standards, the identities. Also, you have devices, your Windows, Mac OSs, Linux servers, Android OS, iOS, they are your endpoints. It also contains applications that could be your line of business applications or cloud applications that are just software as a services, applications that you could easily access over the internet. These are cloud applications. All these endpoints, all these standpoints can actually be protected. And all of them are actually under the umbrella of the Microsoft Defender XDR. So for your email and collaboration, for your email, there is a particular defender. So I'm just going to say it's actually a broad one. That's why if you can see from the screen, it's just an overview. We may still have other sessions that would be picking out the other subsections in it. So for example, like I said, you have protection for email and collaboration. That is called the Microsoft Defender for Office 365. I would not speak so much into it today because, like I said, it's an overview. We also have the protection for your identities for your users, which is the Microsoft Defender for Identity, as well as the Azure AD identity protection, which is now the Entra ID protection. Then for your cloud apps, we have the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Application Defender. You would see that as well in the coming sessions when we have that time. And we also have the one for your endpoints, which is for your devices, because you have to also protect your devices. We have the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. All of these four defenders I've spoken about are actually embodied in your Microsoft Defender XDR. So as we go on, you'll see me talk about users, you see me talk about endpoints and devices. Just know they stand on their own, but also a part of this big picture of the Microsoft Defender XDR. So very quickly, we'll be going through the slide. Yes, so your Microsoft Defender, defending against cybercrimes has never been harder. There is a growing frequency, speed, and targeting of threats. Microsoft Security researchers have tracked a over 130% increase in ransomware. I know for some of us that are system admins or security analysts, I'm sure you must have come across this on your dailies because we noticed that a lot of ransomware attack has been rampant, even in this year, 2024 alone. Also, there's a security gap for fragmented tools, and this is because we are only familiar with what's it called now? Just endpoint detection and response, which is EDR. I'll speak about that in the next few slides. Also, there is an alert fatigue and SOC burnout. We know there are 2 in 5 security leaders feel they are at risk due to cybersecurity staff shortage. Okay, I don't know. I want to believe we have some cybersecurity gurus on the call, but I'm sure you can confirm or keep me correct when I say that there is actually a shortage. Because though you may see people would say they are cybersecurity guys, but then they may not belong to the particular domain that you may be looking for in your organization. So there is a shortage of these guys. And then how does the Microsoft Defender come into play? The security team work is endless. You need to investigate your alerts. You need to prioritize. You also need to be able to prevent and stop attacks quickly. So how do Microsoft Defender XDR come into play in this kind of situation? We'll see XDR is the answer to modern attacks. It's the perfect answer, and you'll see why. Because before now, it has always been an EDR. EDR stands for Endpoint Detection and Response, which are your tools that you just use to protect your Windows, Linux, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. A very recent one is the one that just happened that actually rocked the whole world. But if I would want to be honest, I'm not sure it really rocked our world. And I'm just going to say this on a lighter note. I think Emmanuel saw that on my status when I said most of our guys in this part of our world didn't experience it because we may have some other level of EDR in place, or probably the ones we get from a particular place in the kids are called Utiba. Probably that's why we didn't experience this. But this would have been a traditional method, native EDR, just endpoint detection and response that you use which just protects your device. Also, the alerts are siloed. So if you're getting an alert for probably a vulnerability or a threat on a particular device, it's siloed to that particular device. You may have to manually or remotely get into another device before you can get another set of alerts. Also, now imagine a case where you're scaling up to 1,000 devices in your enterprise and you have to track alerts on all these devices. Also, EDR only helps to fend off endpoint specific attacks and lacks the big picture to help with advanced attacks. It would interest you to know that attacks have gone beyond just these cyber criminals have gone beyond just attacking your devices. They are particularly now even looking out for your identities because they know when they get your identity, they can actually move laterally across the entire estate. So if they're able to break through your device, your identity, probably your password or a persistent session on a browser, they can actually get your email. From that, they get to your devices, they get to cloud applications, they get to prioritized accounts in your tenant, and that way the whole enterprise becomes compromised. So this has been the solution before now, but with the introduction of XDR, it's an holistic security and signal correlation across identity, email, endpoints, software as a service apps, data, cloud, and more. And this is why I said this is like the perfect solution for Microsoft that actually allows you to protect everything in sight. And when I mean in sight, everything you can see in your estate. So it's not one that says, okay, you're only protecting your endpoint, or you're only protecting your user account, or you're only protecting your cloud applications. It actually allows you to protect everything together, which is why I mentioned just before the call that all those other defenders are actually part of this big picture of the XDR. It also provides you with incident-based investigation and response experience, protects against advanced attacks such as BEC, business email compromise, man in the middle, adversary in the middle attacks, as the case may be. So all these are the reasons why XDR is the best, is the newest solution for Microsoft, and we'll see how you can easily turn on some of the configurations and some of the settings as we go on. So next is your Microsoft Defender XDR. This is just showing you how it cuts across the SOC experience cross-domain. So like I said, hybrid identity. So your hybrid identity would be the identities coming from on-premises and cloud. The ones that you've synced to the cloud, there's a protection for them using the Microsoft Defender for Identity and Entra ID identity protection. Also for your endpoints and IoTs, there's a defender for this, which is your Microsoft Defender for Endpoints. That actually protects your Internet of Things devices as well. Then email and collaboration, like I've said, it's the defender for Office 365. Helps you to protect email. So in the defender for Office 365, we start looking at your anti-spam policies, anti-malware policies, safe link policies, safe attachments policies, anti-phishing policies, as the case may be. So those are part of the protection you get from email and collaboration. Then on your SaaS applications, this is protecting your applications you would access over the internet, probably home-based or internally developed applications or whichever one. It also protects them using the Defender for Cloud. Your data as well is protected. So this extends to Purview. I know previous sessions we've had discussions on Purview as well. This protection also extends to your data through Purview to protect your data on your devices based off the data loss prevention policies you've created or the information protection policies you may have in place, and also your cloud workloads. So your cloud workloads are also protected from a security operating center experience standpoint. So there are 4 domains, which is to prevent, to protect, detect and respond, and also to extend. So prevention is like the popular lingo. Prevention is better than cure. Yeah, it's actually pays to prevent than maybe to even respond or detect, because prevention already helps you to see what's coming, and that's why Microsoft has developed the zero trust strategy, which allows you to ensure that there is multiple authentication. People even get out of authenticating every time, but it's a good thing coming from a security standpoint. There's multiple authentication, multiple authorization, access reviews in place, conditional accesses, just to ensure that you are placing these preventions to stop these attacks. So it's if you ask any security analyst, I'm sure for those on the call and those probably listening, they would prefer to prevent than to even start detecting and responding. Because with prevention, you already have like 90% of these threats out of the space. So whatever you are responding to will just be the 10%, which allows you the time to be able to analyze the incidents and the alerts. And also, even with the XDR, it allows you to even automate and respond with your leading generative AIs to respond to threats. And you just have to analyze whatever result it comes up with. There is also the protect and the extend, but I'm sure as we go on, we'll see all this as well. So how do we supercharge your security operations with XDR? One, we enable rapid response with XDR prioritized incidents, can disrupt advanced attacks at machine speed. It also transforms your SOC productivity with generative AI, and it unifies your security, identity, access management. Yeah, so I want to be very quick with the slide so we can just go into the admin center and start playing around on that center. So for the first part, which speaks to enabling rapid response with XDR prioritized incident. I don't know how many of us are very familiar with the Defender suite. It looks like this portal. This is the Microsoft Defender suite. It can be accessed probably on your side from security.microsoft.com if you already have a tenant. And also from your admin center, you can easily toggle to it on your left by selecting the security admin center. So you can actually manage everything in one portal. So incidents that may generated from your endpoints, incidents that can be generated from user identities, incidents that can be generated from your cloud applications, incidents that can be generated from email and your collaboration apps. All of them are unified in a single pane for you to track. So that way, it assists us as security analysts, as system admins, as Microsoft 365 admins, to be able to track, to be able to have a focal view of what you're actually looking for. So if I'm realizing that there's an attack, I don't have to start going to different portals to check where this attack is coming from. Just from my incident page, I can easily see the kill chain and see how the attack may have come in and how it has also been automated and responded to. So there's a unified experience that comes with this. Also, you can see all devices used in your organization. It also presents you with incident-based investigation and response. You see all that. There's also a central access inventory. That one shows you all your device and the threat intelligence that it comes with. So we'll see how you can detect and respond effectively with incidents. An incident in Microsoft Defender XDR is a collection of automatically collected alerts and associated data that make up the full story of an attack. Incidents eliminates the need to sift through random pieces of information, allow SEC team to investigate attacks more efficiently by comprehending the bigger picture and piecing together the entire puzzle quickly. For every admin, I'm sure you if you have been using the Defender suite already, you would obviously enjoy the incident field because it just points you directly to where you are going to. You don't have to start looking for alerts. So it correlates all these alerts because as we know, with previous EDRs, you get numerous alerts in a day. But with the incident speed, it would correlate all these alerts, correlate the ones that are similar together with time-based, and also present that to you on the incident speed. So with that, you can easily access, make your recommendations, do your findings for business specifications as well. You can also easily access them from the incident page. So why are incidents important? Incidents run across all data sources. So the incidents you find will run across your devices. You see incidents for devices. You see incidents for identities, for mailbox and applications. You'll also see for your data, the events, the user activity, email exchange, the traffic, shows you who sends what happened, when the user clicked on this link, how did he get this, who was the man in the middle, and everything. You can actually see all of them. And then with the correlation engine, it shows you the kill chain state and mapping. It shows you the evidence. It shows you the remediation status if it was able to remediate the alerts. I must also point out that not all alerts may be easily remediated. So depending on the level of it is, that's why XDR just allows you to focus on the ones you should focus on and just leave the smaller guys to the system to automatically do that for you. So you see all this as we go on as well. So this is a particular incident that shows an attack story. So it shows you the time user must have clicked, We can zoom in on attack steps right from the incident view. Shows you how the attack went from the compromise to the target. So if the compromise was from the device, or if the compromise was from the cloud, probably the person was able to catch your persistent session on the browser, or the attack was just from the user identity. They were able to harvest your credentials, as the case may be. It shows you all this and also draw all this to you to be able to make your findings. Tell me why you would not appreciate this as a security admin, because this can easily be presented when you probably make a justification for whatever alert has been seen or whatever incidents that you've seen over time. Also, there is our playbooks. There's a step-by-step guide to trigger investigation and remediation actions. We'll see all this as well when we get to the hands-on part. Then review of past investigations of a similar alert to increase efficiency. So for every of these alerts we had seen over time, it would continue to aggregate them to incidents that look alike. So it makes it very easy for you to say, okay, if this thing is happening over time, you can easily now create a prevention against that. You can set up an attack disruption. You see that as we go on, for you to prevent against that particular threat that may have been reoccurring, say, on a monthly basis, on a bi-monthly basis, as the case may be. So that's just an example of what you get with the incidents page. So next is, it helps you to reduce your workload and respond faster with automated response. So early detection, say an attacker compromises a device using a weaponized document to install backdoor, it will create an incident. So once he notices that someone has been able to implant a backdoor, the Microsoft Defender XDR will create an incident, show you this attack story, tells you everything that goes on. Microsoft Defender would also automate the self-healing, more like a remediation. There's an automated response. It brings in this self-healing, which removes any malware and return it to the healthy state. And then you have your investigation ready for you when you get to the incident page. The incident was automatically resolved, removed from the queue. All history is maintained for analyst review. So all this happens without your knowledge, because now it's more like you're handing over your SOC over to the Microsoft Defender to just help you detect, protect, also analyze, respond. All you have to do is just investigate, except when cases become more complex, and then you have to probably just go in, which would actually let you know. So it generates the alert. If it's something they cannot respond to, you will probably get an alert there. You'll see how you can set up alert systems to be sent to maybe your distribution list for the security team, or particular admin that would get all the security alerts on their devices. So you see all that as well. And you can see 75% of work items are auto-remediated, so your team can focus on the more complex and risky threats, which is a good one for security analysts, as well as a win-win for everyone in this case. So also you can proactively hunt for threats, and with guided and advanced hunting, you can easily hunt for threats across all the workloads. You see this also when we get there. It uses the KQL query, is the coastal query language. I know I have guys on this code that will be able to write a lot of this script, but with the KQL, you can actually use this to query. So you can set up the advanced hunting as a preventive measure. So you can easily just use this query and then find undetected attacks that may be not trained anywhere in your environment. It also has the advanced one that allows you to build custom queries as much as you can build, or probably with the GitHub library where you can get existing hunting queries. So this is more specific for the security analyst, where you need to maybe find something, or you're trying to dig deeper into a particular attack story, as the case may be. Then also it helps you to handle high-risk threats efficiently with threat analytics. So one thing about Microsoft Defender is it shows you the latest threats of trends over the internet. So we'll see this page when we get to the admin center. It shows you what's there, what's on the web, what's in the cloud at the moment, the latest one. It also tells you the one that has high impact and the one that has high exposure. Then it also tells you your threat exposure level to each of these vulnerabilities. So as you can see on this page, it says the IoT device Linux build system targeted by the OpenSSH Trojan campaign. You can see the exposure level for this particular tenant, which is being shown, is actually low. Some may be high. Then it tells you what you can do. It tells you if you have any vulnerable devices. It tells you if you have any devices that could be impacted if this thing actually is now targeted to your tenant. But at the moment, as you can see, it's not yet in your tenant. It's just letting you to know that these things are out there. You can easily protect yourself against them. So this is where prevention comes in place. You can start creating policies. You can also, if there are misconfigured devices, it could be that one device is lacking an update. You probably want to run a remote action on that device to ensure that you have updated that device. So this thing is being tracked 247, 365. So the updates are coming in as much as the Microsoft intelligence is able to pick them up on the web. So you get to see latest threats and high impact threats. The threat intelligence presented in the context of the environment to provide a threat focused view and make it easy to understand whether the organization is affected or exposed to a specific threat, just as I said earlier. And also, you can prevent the future incidents and repeat attacks with prioritized security posture recommendations. For every M365 admin that is actually security aware, I'm sure you would not joke with your secure score. That's like the first thing you want to check whenever you go into your M365 admin, Defender admin center, because you want to be sure that you actually have a score that is above what Microsoft will recommend. So Microsoft will put your organization with other organizations that are alike and tell you other organizations in your domain probably have like a 50%, 60% secure score, but you may be running low on 35%, or you may be running higher than that. And then it gives you the recommendation. So this is one very, very perfect and very, very good part of the Microsoft Defender. It actually tells you what to do just to prevent. So it's not like it's just giving you vague recommendations or recommendations that are not in line with your tenant. Everything you would find here on your Defender or on your organization's Defender will speak specifically to your tenant. So say, for example, the first recommendation here is to fix the Microsoft Defender for endpoint sensor. So that would mean that some devices that are maybe enrolled in the tenant through Intune may not have the Defender for endpoint sensor. That means they are not onboarded yet. So for them to be onboarded, for them to be protected, they have to be onboarded. So if they are not onboarded, it tells you that it would also specify the devices and show you the exact ones, as long as you have them enrolled in Intune or probably in your Azure AD. It will show you those, and then you can take actions on them. Same thing as turn on firewall, block JavaScript, and the likes. But the more you continue to take up these recommended actions, the more your score continues to push up. But then there's a caveat, because I've had situations where you may have a customer that wants to get to 100%. Anyone can keep me correct. Yes, I won't say it's a far cry, but then it may not be so easy to get to 100%. But then because it's Microsoft's recommendation, Microsoft just lets you know that this is what you can do, this is what you can do. It's up to you to decide what you want to do. You don't have to do everything, because just as you know, you may actually be looking at some features by the time you do everything. Because say, for example, Microsoft recommends that there is a particular setting I'm trying to remember now. I think it's on password registration. Passwords should never expire. Some organizations would want passwords to expire. Microsoft will tell you they recommend passwords never to expire. And this is because they are basing the security of passwords to passwordless authentication. That's why you have your authenticator app, your FIDO2 keys, and the likes. But some other organizations are still probably stuck in the past and will tell you they want passwords to expire every month and the likes. So it's a recommendation. It's not a compulsory action. You just have to take it as much as you want on your business specification or as a security admin, whatever is presented back to you. Also, security controls are mapped to tactics used in prior incidents seen in the tenant. Understand exposure assessment. You can manage vulnerability across your entire endpoint estate with Defender vulnerability management built in. All this we'll see when we get into the portal as well. So next slide, let's see the native XDR across end user access and cloud workloads. So this is also another attack story. It shows you can see the first action that was taken 7:56:52 a.m. Suspicious URL was clicked. From there, it generated to a suspicious script execution. Covert strike ran in the back door through the memory. The account was enumerated, access to a storage blobs container, and then lastly, they got a script uploaded to the Azure storage. So you can see all this. It actually tells you the time you'd see. If you can see, it shows you the device that was actually compromised. Then it shows you the account. It shows you the identity. This is why I said this page actually just reviews everything on your security. So if you're looking at Microsoft security, you're just looking at Microsoft Defender. You don't need to go to any other portal. Everything will just stop for you. And then you can see from your attack story, you also get each of these alerts. You get the assets that were affected. So like I said, this attack may have gone laterally to other devices. So it shows you which other accounts may have been compromised and the ones that may be in the process of that compromise. It shows you the investigations is done and also evidences and the response it has taken on them. So if it was able to investigate and remediate it automatically, it lets you know and it shows you what has been done. All this would see in the next demo that would see probably in the next few slides. We can also monitor, triage, investigate multi-cloud alerts. This is one very sweet point of Microsoft Defender. So you can also bring in your other cloud workloads from AWS to GCP, and you can move between the Defender XDR to your Defender for Cloud. All these are more complex scenarios when you are talking about a multi-cloud environment that you may need to protect identities through them. So this is just a multi-stage incident. It's just a walkthrough of a multi-stage incident involving initial access and privilege escalation with end user access and client infrastructure. So you see from beginning, the end user detection using Defender for Cloud, you notice activity from a password pre-associated IP address, unfamiliar sign-in properties, access elevation by risky users. These are the portals that will detect them. I spoke about Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Identity, this Defender for XDR. Then also, if there's a suspicious classic role assignment detected, that can be found using the Defender for Cloud. So your Defender for Cloud is, yes, Defender for Cloud is quite different from your Defender for Cloud Apps. Defender for Cloud Apps is your defense against cloud applications, SaaS applications, line of business applications. The Defender for Cloud is your defense against your storages in the Azure cloud. So everything there, if there's a role assignment, someone is messing with your storage, someone is probably creating VMs, maybe there's a crypto jacking, people that will just use your subscriptions to start mining cryptocurrency. All this can be detected using Defender for Cloud. Then it just shows you the attack chain across how each defender is able to capture whatever action is taken. So, for example, like I said, the crypto jacking is a type of IaaS. It's actually an infrastructure. They use it to mine. I won't say steal, sorry, to mine cryptocurrency, but it takes the form of abusing cloud computing resources. So you can just find that someone has created a VM in your tenant, and they're using this thing, and this thing is already incurring costs for you in your subscription. But with Defender for Cloud and Defender XDR, you can actually use this to mitigate all these bad actions. So very quickly, let's see disrupt advanced attacks at machine speed. And at machine speed, I must say it's actually machine speed, because you'd see how long it takes for you to actually detect and respond to attacks using the Microsoft Defender XDR. So this is just another page of an attack story of an incident, multi-stage involving privilege escalation. So it shows you where it started from. There was an suspicion access to the LSS service, takes it down, what was taken, credential memory that was read. But with detection, you can correlate these signals from multiple sources. It classifies it. It disrupts that attack. So disruption is your remediation. It disrupts it. It also isolates the infected devices and suspects compromised accounts in real time. So it takes only 3 minutes. It's the average amount. You can keep me correct, anyone. It's the average amount for it to disrupt any ransomware attack. So with your Defender for XDR, as long as you're licensed for it, find out that when there is an attack, it actually just self-remediates itself and then presents the investigation to you in the incident page. So example is a cancer medical lab that was compromised by an attack group. Attackers performed RDP to one of the company's SQL servers, performing tampering and credential dumping. The attack on the SQL server triggered attack disruption. As a result, the attacker was blocked from moving laterally to the targeted 55 devices. So you see how this attack disruption works. It just helps you to block the attack, and then it disables, be it account, be it device, it just disables anything it sees as being compromised. Also, a litigation firm that focused on healthcare running a simulation, which was blocked by attack disruption, and the like. So these are just customer examples. So first, let's see how Microsoft Defender takes automated actions to stop BEC attacks. So this is your business email compromise. So business email compromise actually involves when these bad guys, senior boys, cyber criminals try to impersonate like a company executive or vendors, and they try to trick employees into transferring money or giving out sensitive information, which can lead to a very, very serious damage or at the end, maybe financial loss because they're giving out information. So if you look at this, if you look at this scenario, the first thing is what it does is the detection. So it detects using XDR correlated alerts. It checks for unfamiliar signing. So if we realize that, say for example, sorry, like I made mention, we're just having a light moment before the call started when I was talking about people calling in from different time zones. If he realizes that probably Adekunle, for example, are signed in this morning in a location like Lagos, and then in the next hour, I'm signing from a different location, say another part of the world. It recognizes that as an unfamiliar signing. I don't know how you are able to easily travel, even with a jet, to get to maybe the far ends of Antarctica within an hour from Lagos, Nigeria. So you can recognize that as an unfamiliar signing. Also, it checks for like inbox rule creation. He notices probably that there is a rule that was created. This is like one of the serious threats that actually comes to business email compromise. You just notice that your mails are being forwarded somewhere. Someone is sending your emails, or someone is reading your emails, someone has access to your emails. It may be that an inbox rule has been created without your knowledge. It checks for that. It detects that. It detects sending and deletion of emails. So it checks for the time frame using the Microsoft Defender for 365 and the message trace. It checks the sending and deletion of emails. Then it checks who has read those emails. And once it sees all this, the system would classify. So yeah, it classifies it that is this a business email compromise attack, or is it a fraud attempt, or is it a compromised user mailbox? So from the detection alert, whatever it has seen here, it helps you to decide what might be going on. Probably this user was compromised because maybe someone was able to access your inbox because you signed in on their system and you didn't sign up. They could easily go to your inbox rule and create rules like that. So that way, you know that email is already compromised. So it classifies it like that. Then what it does is to disrupt the action. So the automatic response is it disables the user account to disrupt the attack, preventing follow-up conversations and the wire instructions from being acted upon. Zero auto purge also reverses certain mailbox actions, such as the removal of forwarding rules. I want to say that some of us, probably in environments where we have Defender turned on, you may have realized that sometimes you receive an email and then the next minute you can't find it again in your mailbox. It may be the function of the 0-hour auto pause because it actually reverses mailbox action. So maybe someone is sending an email that's a threat and the system maybe couldn't prevent it, but if it was able to get to the mailbox, it can still purge it out of the system and get that to the deleted or to the quarantine folder as defined by the security admin in the admin center. So that's one of the functions of the 0-hour auto pause. It also removes the forwarding rules and, like I said, moves the emails to the quarantine. So this is how XDR helps you to disrupt this kind of attacks in a case of a business email compromise. Another one would be in a case of a ransomware attack. So what does it check? It checks for suspicious executions on your Windows management. It checks for compromised accounts conducting hands-on keyboard attack. So maybe someone was able to RDP into your device, or someone was able to remotely just access your device. It checks that. It also checks for a possible lateral movement involving suspicious files. So you just run all these checks. All these things happen in the background. That's why it makes your SOC team look so superb when you have Microsoft Defender. Because you are not seeing this, but all this is just happening in the background for you to see later on. Also, it checks for possible theft of passwords and other sensitive web browser information. Then what it does is it classifies all this. So once it identifies these attack types and then compromised assets, it does the aggregation and analyzes this. It unravels the chain of attacks as we've seen in those attack stories. Then the most important part is the disruption. So this is where the response is coming in. It disrupts that attack before it even gets to the next stage. It suspends the compromised user in Active Directory and in Enter ID. So why in Active Directory is when you have like an hybrid state where you have accounts running from on-prem and the cloud. It disrupts this user account from that standpoint. It also cancels any active session used by compromised account. So the revoking user sessions, multi-factor sessions, it immediately cancels all those. Then devices that may be attacked also, will automatically block incoming and outgoing communication initiated by the compromised device. So maybe someone still has access to that device, or these bad actors, sorry, these bad actors still have access to this device. You would immediately block it and not allow them to be able to go on with this attack chain. So that's how it blocks your ransomware attack. Then the last one would be your man in the middle attack. How does this Microsoft Defender also block your man in the middle? With detection, same thing, it checks for unfamiliar sign-in, it checks for network connections, it checks for the Defender for 365 URL click information. So as part of all this is, as part of the incident page, which shows you all the incidents, you can also get information like a reporting of who has clicked what, who has opened what and everything, which device is exposed and everything. There's also a standard reporting pane in the Security Admin Center, which we'll see later on. So once it checks all this and it checks the threat intelligence signals, it classifies them. Is it compromised? Is it a fraud attempt? Is it a man in the middle attempt, as the case may be? Then once it sees all this, it disrupts it. It disables the compromised user. The stolen session cookie will be automatically revoked. So on that browser, it automatically revokes it, prevents the attacker from using it for additional malicious activity. So very quickly, let's just see this short demo of an automatic attack disruption. So this is the incidents page. This is the one I said I can't promise that we may see when we get to the admin center. But this is what your incident page will look like. You have a lot of incidents. And if you see this line is one incident, all you have under it are alerts that have been generated under this incident. Also, it shows you the severity. You see the automated response, disruption was completed, remediation completed, disruption completed. It shows you the one in progress. It also shows you the one that fails. So you have different responses to these automations. So for the one that fails, you know as an admin that you probably have to go in and perform like a second check to look into why that has failed and then and remediate immediately. Then it shows you the impacted assets. So you can see this thing is running across. Now you can, for example, this is devices, endpoint, this is users, identity, this is mailbox, email, and collaboration. So it shows you everything with this holistic view to just capture where the assets are and which ones have been impacted. It also shows you the active alerts, the sources, and what detected them. So this one that was detected by Office 365, obviously you know is something that was detected using Defender for 365, identity, and as the case may be. So you would see for this demo, sorry, I think I took us away. The indication in the incident queue shows you that there's a multi-stage incident involving execution, lateral movement. Then you see the exact attack story. It tells you that Microsoft 365 Defender automatically disrupted. Automatically there, like I said, it's not you. The system does this once it's able to identify that. It's either a ransomware, adversary in the middle, or a business email compromise, or any other type of compromise as the case may be. So you see the timeline and everything. So once it's able to cause that disruption with the built-in intelligence that this has, you would see the ongoing actions. So say, for example, you found out that this user, which is Jonathan Walcott, is actually the user identity in this attack. The account becomes compromised and then is blocked off. You see what you can do to probably unblock, maybe an ongoing action. You have to reset user password, remove any suspicious address, remove forwarding rules, remove the user from any administrative role groups. That should even be like the first thing to do. Then you want to respond to the compromised account using these steps. Then when all this is done, you can easily go back to remove the user from the restricted user. But that must have been after your series of investigation, personal investigation, and part of the investigation that the system will do for you. And then also, if you feel that this automation is not something you want to keep going, you can also exclude the users from automated actions. This is for, I would say, probably for users that may have a just cause or a just reason to do this. But security admins, it's quite advised that you probably have everyone that would be able to run through these automated actions. Because if this guy was exempted or is excluded as the case may be, if this attack had run through the account, they may not have been able to run that automated action from the attack story. So this would have to wait until the security analyst gets into the portal to maybe do a remediation and justification of that attack story. Then also you can exclude devices and also disable auto containment. So the containment is it just puts the device somewhere. It just disables the device for the time being. It doesn't disable every device. It just disables the device that is contaminated, as the case may be. So all this can be disabled, maybe with your automated actions when you don't want it to run, or just on your own business level justification. Yeah. So the next one very quickly is to transform your SOC productivity with generative AI. So how does this work with XDR? We know everyone is talking about generative AI, what Microsoft has to offer. We also have the Copilot for security, which is one very beautiful offering, Security Copilot, which allows you to work faster when you need to respond to threats. Also allows you to have a holistic view of maybe aggregation of threats, as the case may be. So see, investigate, respond to threats in a guided experience, upskill security talent, access risks with AI-driven intelligence. So this one, with your security copilot, you can easily summarize what must have happened. So just as I was sharing those pages before that had attacks running from devices to endpoints to identities to mailboxes, it can easily help you to summarize everything that's happened there. Also gives you like a guided response on a step-by-step for what to do on the investigation and the remediation, and also help you to generate a ready-to-share summary of this incident. So something you can probably submit to IROPS to just to analyze whatever incidents that may have happened using your generative AI. Also, threat hunting has never been easier and faster. This is one place where I know is something I would really enjoy as an M365 admin if I'm in this use case as well. Because for say maybe you are not able to write KQLs, you can't write your coastal query languages, you can easily run prompts for you to generate these things for you. And then you can use this to run like an advanced threat hunting in the admin center. So you don't have to worry yourself with KQLs. So for all my gurus that were proud of writing KQLs, I have security copilot to do this for me. At the moment, though, it's just the copilot, it's not the autopilot, as the case may be. So it also helps you to analyze your code. So if you had codes that you need to run at the case and everything, you can easily use this to analyze your script using the generative AI. Then assisted threat analytics. So with your inquiries you are trying to make using KQL, you can also do the same in your natural language. You can easily just with selective prompts, which are able to generate device results for you. You can just inquire about anything. If it's an emerging threat, you want to get more information, you want to identify whatever latest threat is out there, you want to improve your security posture, just run the security copilot and then you will be able to analyze this. It's still a preview, so some tenants may not have this yet, but I'm sure when it gets to the full use, everyone may be able to do this, obviously at a cost for the organization. Then lastly, on this slide is how the XDR helps your SOC to unify security and identity access management. So it helps you to protect your hybrid identity and identity infrastructure from credential theft and other threats with seamless integration of Entra ID and XDR. We all know that identities are like a critical threat vector because what these guys, what these criminal guys, what these cyber criminals are looking for is just to be able to lay hold of your identity. Once they do that, they could easily run key logins to probably get your passwords. And God helps you, you don't have a multi-factor authentication. You already know you are porous, that account is quite porous, and then you may be exposed to a lot of attacks, which can lead to a general attack on the organization. So this is why this XDR helps you to protect your security and your identity in the same management, unifies this together. So very quickly, we'll see how identity system can actually run across your users. You can see identifying user identity system, your company resources, how everyone actually connects to the organization resources. So evolution of how we work and engage with technology around us is redefining the corporate security perimeter. For example, some of us are not in Lagos, some of us are outside other parts of the world. Some people may be working remotely, some people may be outside, and then you are reporting or you are all working with sources from the same organization. Now, it should interest you to know that it only takes just one user it don't even take just one less privileged account to be able to compromise the entire organization. So you might think it's just maybe one of your frontline workers, and maybe on the business side, you might say they don't need Defender, they don't need this. But then it only takes just getting access to that account to be able to compromise the entire organization. So let's take, for example, you have a frontline worker account, maybe someone on the business basic or someone on an F1 license that's just for the frontline workers, and then you don't have any defense system for them. If there is a compromise on that account, they are able to send out emails that may contain bad actions that could actually get up to a C-level person or a prioritized account or a priority account. If this person malicious, this person doesn't know that it's probably clicking on a malicious link, but because they've seen that it's coming from someone in the organization, they may go ahead to click on that link, and there is a lateral movement already because the attack started from that least privileged account and it's already getting to the most privileged account. So identity should actually run across everybody in the organization. As admins, as M365, as enthusiasts, if you are looking at security, it shouldn't only come from an higher up standard. You should actually look at security from everyone's standard, because once you're able to protect everyone, then you are sure that if there's going to be maybe sophisticated attacks, that is something you may look into. But putting that in place first actually helps you to protect everyone. So even if your users are on F1 or the lowest license, please, I beg you, I beseech you, as the case may be, ensure that you have some level of defense for this user account, because it only takes just that one user before everything comes down in the tenant. And that just goes to show in this next slide, which shows that once that one identity system is broken, you see how the line gets read, and then everything becomes compromised, and then they get access to your company resources. So how do we streamline identity protection? You can stop the breaches before they start, which is the prevention. You stop attacks with policies on your identities, even in your hybrid environment. You provide threat level visibility. You can detect better with threat level visibility and correlated identity alerts from your devices, users, and apps. And this is why, personally, I also think you actually have to protect your devices, your users, your identities, because it's your users that would sign into devices. It's your users that would access the applications, your users that would get into your storages in Azure and the like. So if you are not protecting these accounts, they could actually expose every other thing that you may think you are protecting at that moment. Also, it will be good to disrupt attacks in real time so you can easily respond faster, stop your lateral movements with XDR, AI, and automation. So all this helps you to form like your standard identity threats detection and response component. With all this, you're already protecting your identities. So we'll see this. There's also a part for the Defender for Identity in the admin center. We'll see secure adaptive access, threat level intelligence, as the case may be. And lastly, on this is the unified threat protection architecture. So if on your on-premises, your identity platforms, you can actually make use of your Microsoft Entra identity access and management. It comes with a secure adaptive access, unified identity management, simplified identity governance for your hybrid account and for your single cloud account. And plugging this into XDR also helps you to manage everything about that identity. So this is how we are able to explore the usage of Microsoft Defender XDR in our organization, and also ensure that devices, users, our cloud apps, our storages, our emails, and collaboration apps are actually being protected from bad actors. Thank you for listening. We'll take questions now. So while we take questions, I also, like I said, I really want to show you the Defender Endpoints portal just to have a feel of some of the things I've spoken about and see how some of them work. But we can take questions while I just take down my screen for a moment. Thank you. Okay, so I think we all get that. I would want to share my screen now to the admin center. Please give me a moment. Yeah, so please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. All right, yeah, I can see the amps. Thank you. So this is a Microsoft 365 tenant. In case you don't know, the tenant houses your identities, devices, and it's a productivity suite, Microsoft 365, basically. So this is just one of the demo tenants. This is already pre-filled with some user accounts and the likes. So, like I said, you can easily access the security admin center from the main admin center, the Microsoft 365 admin center, by clicking on this. Also, you can easily also access it as long as you have the right privilege and permissions to get to security.microsoft.com. Okay, so as you can see, it's actually the same portal. It's just loading the same time. So I'll just take down one and then we can continue on one of this. So this is for everything we're talking about actually can be found in your XDR Microsoft Defender admin center. So we'll just walk through what you can see. This is the home page, just telling you to connect the workspace. There is one thing I didn't speak about, which is your SIEM tool, which is Microsoft Sentinel. That so for every of these correlations, attacks, and everything, you want to have like an holistic view. It's your incident and events management tool from Microsoft called Microsoft Sentinel. We'll see how this can be connected. Obviously, like I said, Microsoft Defender is not something we can finish in a day. But I'm sure in subsequent sessions, we'll see each of these other admins, each of these other components, and then we'll see how we can link all of them together at some point. So this just tells you how you can connect the workspace and the like. So for example, there is a pane for all these cards are actually cards that are picked up from each of these settings here. So let's just walk through these cards here. You have the device compliance for your Intune devices. I would also like to point out that I think the last sessions before this one, we spoke about Intune. You can also easily plug in your Intune devices to Microsoft Defender. There's a setting that run throughs from Intune to Defender and also from Defender to Intune that allows you to easily onboard your devices directly from Intune to Defender. So in a case where you don't want to do like a local script onboarding or you don't want to use Windows onboarding, you can easily just plug in your Intune to Defender. As long as you're licensed for it, you'll be able to get the features of Defender for Endpoint on those devices. Then the next card shows you your users at risk. So you see high risk users, medium risk users, low risk users. It classifies them based on what they may have been exposed to over time. Next would be device health. So this is because, as I've said, this is actually fresh up. I'm sure maybe in the next sessions, this would obviously be filled up because I'll maybe share this with one or two people to maybe just play around with the admin center and see what you can find on your own before we meet again on the Defender series. Then you'll see onboarded devices. It shows you the health of these devices. Action Center, there are no action spending, as I can say. You also have, okay, let me just go back to the top. Then the ITDR, the Identity Threats and Detection Response. So it shows you what you have in place. For example, this requires all these licenses. But if you see, I already have a license for Defender of Identity. There's an Entra ID protection license. Entra workload conditional access. This is locked out yet. User conditional access turned on, private access turned on because of the license. It's an E5 tenant, Microsoft 365 E5. I'm sure we've had sessions on subscription, so you should be familiar with that. That's why we have all these workloads turned on. But if we need to configure this, there's an installation guide. You see all this. Like I said, I want to believe all this will be done before our next sessions. You also have a card for your connected SaaS applications. You have your Microsoft Sentinel integration. Then what I spoke about, the part of demo, I spoke about the secure score. So the secure score also runs across your identity, your data, your apps. So it tells you what you need to do. And then how you can improve your score. So I think I should just click on this so we see this really quick. So Microsoft Secure Score, yes. So like you see on this tenant now, this is telling me I currently have all these recommended actions. Just like this. And then it also tells you the score. So first thing is I need to ensure multi-factor authentication is enabled for all users. It's not enabled, that's why. And it will tell you the points you've achieved so far. So currently, I've only achieved 0.26. I can say it's just my account that has this authenticator app, the multi-factor authentication turned on, because I know I actually have one turned on for this demo account. So that's why you have this current points achieved. It tells you where the license. It also lets you know if you have the license. So if you have recommendations and you are not licensed for those recommendations, you may not be able to turn them on. Trying to see if I can find one. Okay, so this is one that says no, yes. So this is Microsoft Information Protection as one of the recommended actions. So it said I should extend my entry search sensitivity labeling to assets in Microsoft public data, but I'm not licensed. So it could be that there is no AIP P2 in the E5 because you know it's just an evaluation E5, and that's why I'm not licensed for it. So the fact that you have it recommended, you may not be able to enable it. But as much as you can enable, is advised that you just enable as much. And also look out for the ones that actually give you the high points. So for example, Microsoft, we know, is running through the Zero Trust. They take multi-factor authentication as a serious baseline for your security. So with this being enabled, it's certain I may get a score increase of 2.27% on my 35% that's currently on this tenant. If I also go on ahead to ensure that it's enabled for all users in administrative role, this one would mean that I would probably be setting up a conditional access for users in admin to ensure that they have MFA turned on. Or let's just even confirm. So for each recommendation, you would see how to also implement them. So this first one that says ensure multi-factor authentication is enabled for all users. It tells you description, MFA, we all know MFA. It tells you the implementation status. You have 34 out of 35 users that are registered with MFA. It tells you the user impact and the users affected. So let's see the implementation. It tells you what you need to do. It also tells you the prerequisites. So because of our license, we have the Entra ID P2, and we can actually go through all this to ensure that we have MFA turned on for all users. Then history, it shows you 0.2 points gain because fewer users are affected and the likes. So all this are what you get with each recommendation. If I click on another one, it's a different story because they are not the same. So you have different descriptions of what you can actually turn on for each of these recommended actions. So this one now is telling me to ensure that for anyone that is in the global admin role, authentication role, all these roles listed, that at least they have MFA turned on. And now it has found that I have 6 users with this administrative role, and you have 6 out of them that are registered and protected with MFA. So it tells you what you do, how you can implement it. If you want to use conditional access, or you just want to do the general MFA in the admin center, it also shows you some level of history. So this is one of the pages that you will be familiar with as a security admin. Just go in, check for recommended actions. You also see the history, and also check for trends. So this is your secure score zone. We're currently on 38.5. So the comparison thread, if you remember, I said Microsoft puts you against organizations of a similar size. So say, for example, this is me, I'm currently on 30 something, but it's telling me organization of my size, actually on 49. So I can do better, or I can even I can do to the same level. I can do better than other organizations and get to maybe 60 something or 70 something. But it keeps helping you to track this on a daily basis. And this is available every time you log into the admin center. Let me just take us quickly back while we see the other cards here in the home page. Devices reactive malware, attack simulation training. How many of us are quite familiar with attack simulation? Have you gotten emails that tell you that you won money, something, something, click on this link? Sometimes we discover that it's either coming from your organization. And when it's not coming from your organization, you know you're getting the door being shown to you at that point. So we have insider risk management, as the case may be, discover devices and everything. So let's move to the left pane and see what we have here. So if you remember, I spoke about Defender for Office 365 as defense for email and collaboration, Defender for endpoints as defense for your endpoints devices, Defender for cloud apps, and Defender for identity. From this left page, if you would see, we have a pane for endpoints. So the settings in here are what can be turned on, settings you can toggle for your devices. Then if you go down, you'll see one for identities. You would also find for email and collaboration. And lastly, you'd find for cloud applications. So this is why I said the XDR actually just gives you an holistic view of everything you need to see in one page. And you'll see them as we go on. So very quickly, I think we still have some time. Let's just go through each one that we can go through. The incidents page, as I mentioned, is supposed to be an aggregation of all alerts, but you please permit me, as we don't have any incident now. This tenant is still secure. Nobody has tried anything yet, so we can't get any incident. Then the hunting page, I spoke about the advanced hunting. So these are the page where you can put in your coastal query. Now, you can put in your coastal query and then run them to find whatever actions. Also, you also have some queries that are easily just, you can easily find. So if you are finding device event, device logon event, say for example, you want to just find signing, AAD signing, I can easily just run this query and it will show me signing that has happened. Let me just open this. Yes, so these are my signings presently. I need to drag this to the top. Okay, so these are just the interactive signings that have happened because the query I ran was just to show me signing events. So they're trying to track any other events, identity logon events and the likes. It shows you everything, shows you the account, shows you the error code. So this is still the one account I'm using at the moment and the information you can get. So all this you can do with these queries. And you can also have your custom detection rules. So when you are able to add your own queries, your custom queries, you can run detection rules and easily access them. Then next in this portal, we have the actions and submissions. We have the action center. So because this is not updated yet, the action center actually shows you all of the actions that has taken place over time. Okay, Rafiah, I see you have your hands raised.
Okay, yes. Sorry to cut you there. We do have a question. So I don't know.
Okay.
Would you want to go ahead now? So we have a
Yes.
one of the attendees asking that how would he connect his Microsoft Entra ID with Microsoft Defender as a global administrator? And also, will all his users be onboarded automatically because devices also need to be onboarded?
Okay, that's a good question. So if you currently have Microsoft's what's it called now, Entra ID, you have devices in Entra ID and you're looking to plug that into Defender. Like I said, we have different methods of plugging devices. We have different sources on how you can onboard to Defender. And instead of explaining, I think I'll just show it to you so you see. So from settings page, I'm back to Defender page. Would see in the endpoint. So this is Defender for XDR. We have the settings for endpoints. So in endpoints, you'd see Scroll down, we can see device management, and we can see onboarding. So in onboarding, you can easily select the kind of devices you want to onboard. Say you want to onboard Windows 7, Windows 10 servers, Windows Server 2019. These are all the current compatible devices you can actually onboard to your Defender for endpoint or Microsoft Defender service generally. So once you've selected one, I'll just go with Windows 10 and 11. So first device has not been onboarded yet. Obviously, I don't have anything yet. But this is where you select your deployment method. So for every of your devices, you can either deploy them using local scripts. You can do this for up to 10 devices. You can use group policies. You can use your MECM, SCCM as the case may be, or Microsoft Intune, device management, or use a VDI onboarding script for non-persistent devices. It could be your terminal devices, as the case may be. So, for example, in your use case where you have Entra, I want to believe you have Intune as well for your to manage your devices as your device management tool for managing your devices. You can easily plug in devices from Intune to Defender for endpoints. So I don't know if that answers your question. Trying to see who sent this.
That's Michael Ogudari. Could
Okay,
you please
yeah, Michael
confirm?
Ogundari.
Yeah, you can unmute and speak, Michael.
Yes, you can. I don't think Michael is on the
Yes,
call
yeah,
at the
thank you very
moment.
much. Answer my
Okay,
question.
okay, okay, great. Thank you. So I
But
don't know if there
what
are
if I want
any other. Yes, please.
to do that?
I can barely hear you, Michael.
All right. What about the users?
Okay.
What about the users?
Yeah, so like I
Hello,
said,
can you
for
hear me?
users, I can hear you now. I think your question now is
All
for
right.
users. How will users be onboarded, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. That's a good question. So, like I said, this onboarding method is for your endpoint. For your user onboarding to identities, we actually have a setting in the Azure AD called the identity protection, which allows you to onboard your users. I won't say onboard, just probably just turn on policies for your users. And I'll walk you through that in a minute. Let's see. Okay, so it's actually resides in the Entra ID for your cloud users. It's called the identity protection. So for identity protection, it allows you to create user risk policies, sign-in risk policies, and also create some level of multi-factor authentication registration policy. So for the user risk policy, this is one policy we create. You can assign to our users risk is to say medium and above, done. Then the action, want to block access. So for every user, so if I turn this on and I say block access for user that are recognized at the weeks of medium and above, I would close this. I don't want to turn this on yet, but I want to say that just block access for users that you recognize as medium and above. Once I turn this on and I save this policy, now when I get back to my identity, it's just a pity that I can't find any identity here, but I'll probably just share that slide and walk you through one of the pages that has like identity in it. Just a moment. I want you to get the full picture. Please just hold on. Where is this? Yes. Okay, good. So for Dix, for example, If you see this action, you notice that this actually picks out a particular user, Jonathan Walcott. If this user is now recognized as a medium risk user based off the policy I created in the identity protection, it blocks this access of this user. So that's one of the disruption attacks I spoke about when you set this user to a particular level. So if it was just a medium risk, that this risk was not very high and the account wasn't very highly affected, it wouldn't block the access. It will still grab access for the user. But because I've created a policy for that user now, that whenever the user is at risk, at a medium risk, the user will get blocked based off the disruption attack policy that has been created. So it's not a form of onboarding for your users per se. Onboarding only comes to place on your endpoint standpoint. For your users is by setting policies for them such that when they are going beyond medium risks or going on lower risks or higher risks, the kind of actions that should happen. For example, when a user is flagging high risks, they should get outrightly blocked. So that's where you configure those. So that's kind of like the disparities between what you get on endpoints and for your users. So it's not a function of we are not onboarding users, we are just enabling users as part of the identity protection. I hope you get that, Michael.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I see another question from Timmy. So he says, I have an onboarded device showing inactive for 2 weeks, trying to figure out the cause, but not sure. Only thing figured out so far is that I cannot access Windows security on the device. So if your device is onboarded, first things you want to check is to confirm the account on that device. The account signed into the device. Is the account licensed for that service as well? Next thing you also want to check is to confirm that the defender for endpoint sensor, if you remember, I spoke about that particular sensor in one of the slides. You need to check that that sensor is actually on the device. So that involves, there is a particular command line you can actually want to check for the MDATP sensor. You can use that to check to confirm that you actually have the advanced threat protection running on the device. If it's not running, you may show that inactive and it may still run for the next 2 weeks or as long as it's able to get it. So if the device also is not if you're not able to access Windows security on that device, that could also mean something else. So I think I want to be more particular and say, what's the exact error? Seeing as this is a troubleshooting question now, what's the exact error when you try to access Windows security? Is it that it doesn't open at all or it just throws up a red error? You can unmute your mic and speak to me. Timmy, if you are speaking, you are muted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, good.
Yeah, thank you so much for the insightful session. Yeah, basically when I try to open it, it just tries to load and it just stopped loading and went off completely.
Okay, so that's the Windows security.
I ran the
system.
Yes. The onboarding script and it keeps showing successful. I onboarded the device and tried to onboard again, but it was successful, but the last active date is still showing 2 weeks ago.
That the device was active.
Yes.
Okay. So did you check for the services? Can you also check to confirm that you have the Defender service running on that PC? That's one way to check if you can run like a command prompt to check that as well. Just go to your list of devices, confirm that you have MDATP running on the device. And also part of what I said, for the Windows security, when you are not able to open applications, you need to also check that that app is also not malfunctioning, maybe because of something else. Or it could even be because of just an update. So you need to check your Windows update. Updates tends to fix a lot of things that we may not be able to think about. But if your Windows security app is not opening, So that actually expands this troubleshooting to a different scope now. You need to ensure that you can actually see your Windows security open as an application on the device itself. So that's something you want to explore. You want to check your Windows updates. Probably you want to check the task manager, check the service of the Windows security, and see if there's an error to why that is also not opening. Because if that opens, that actually opens you up to see the current services. You see the antivirus running and everything on that device. But let's see if we can get the Windows services running. And also, please check for the Microsoft Defender Advanced Threat Protection service running on that PC.
Yeah, thank you so much. Like all these services are actually running. So, but maybe I'll connect with you later then. So in order not to go into troubleshooting too much.
On the call.
All right.
Yeah, you can always
All right, no
connect with
problem.
Adekunle after this session. Okay.
Yes, definitely, definitely. I think I'm even more interested now, and then we can see what's going on there. So let's connect and then let's see how it goes. Thanks for that question, to me. Okay, so let's get back to our admin center. So I think we stopped at the action center where I said it shows you all the investigations, the ones that's been approved and everything. All this would actually populate if there are actually actions that have been taken care of. Then we have submissions. So submissions would involve incidents where you are now trying to submit to Microsoft for further analysis. So submissions would be maybe you found a particular email, particular attachment that you've confirmed that you think is not actually malicious, something that is not, that is a false positive. You can submit this back to Microsoft for analysis. So it's more like raising a ticket to just confirm the authenticity of that particular malicious act, to confirm that maybe it's a false positive or it's even a true one, and then you can move forward further from there. So this page will show you everything you've submitted over to Microsoft. This is after like your security team has reviewed it. This can be submitted back to Microsoft. So that's what you get on the submissions page. So next would be the threat intelligence. So threat intelligence, you have the threat analytics. Sorry, I'm going to move very fast now. So we saw this page in the slide. I told you it shows you the latest threats. It shows you the ones that has high impact, and also lets you know the one that your devices or your tenants may be exposed to. So as you can see, this is up to date because this particular one, this this vulnerability actually was published on the 26th, 24th, just yesterday. So it shows you everything, and then we can see at the moment the one that may be attacking. It tells you the type of threats, so ransomware, phishing. The one that I can identify just lets you know the kind of activity it is and the like. So this is one page that as security admins, you would want to get yourself familiar with, just to be sure that you can see all this as it goes on. And then you can also protect yourself for anyone that your own tenants may be vulnerable to. Intel profiles, these are just profiles that shows you the intelligence. Some of these still in preview, Intel projects and the like. So learning hub, this learning hub is when you need to get learning resources. So if you are not very much familiar with the Security Admin Center, you can actually utilize the learning hub to get a lot of tutorials, training courses, documentations, and everything concerning everything in this portal. We have trials, partner catalog, all these are just part of the security trials. So very quickly, let's just look at the exposure management. Exposure management shows you your level of exposure to so you can see how protected is your organization, onboarded devices, identities, and everything. So it shows you your devices, shows you your IoTs, shows you your cloud resources, shows you your identities, and it tells you where you stand. So this is the current attack surface map. Total assets, nothing yet because there's been practically no attack. But then it shows you the view in advanced hunting, 7 critical cloud resources, 7 critical identities. Let's even see. So the critical identities in this case would be your administrative account. You'd find them as your critical identity because these are prioritized accounts. you would find those as critical identities. So basically, that's what you get on the overview for the exposure. Then the attack surface, when you start getting attack paths, attack stories, and the likes, all of this can also be traced back to this place. You have the exposure insights, secure score. This is the same one we spoke about just before. Just before now, you can see the secure score. Then we have data connectors. So if you are trying to extend your protection to other silos where you may have data residents, you can also see how you can connect this. So all these are still in preview, but it's something that can be worked on. Then next is your assets. So assets is your list of devices. So after onboarding devices, you would find them listed here. So for Timmy, I'm sure, for example, you find your devices listed here. For Michael as well, when you get to onboard your devices, you find them all listed here as onboarded devices, computer, network devices, IoT, uncategorized devices, as the case may be. It also shows you the ones that are high risk, the one that's exposed, some that are not onboarded, but that were just categorized. You find those as well in your devices. Then also your list of identities. So list of identities shows you all your identities and the priorities of investigations on them. So these are my identities. You can see there's a lot of them. Just to track your defender for identity. So all this one just lists all your identities as the case may be. Then we'll move to this portal that has endpoints. So for endpoints, if we go back to that secure score, you'll find that this thing shows you, it breaks down this score into identity, data, apps, and the likes. So for each of these defenders, I call them defenders now, endpoints, identity, email, cloud app, they all make up this general secure score. And each of them also have their own secure score. So for now, you can see we have Microsoft secure score for devices. And this is 0 yet. And I think anybody on the call should tell me why this is 0%. If you've been following, you should be able to tell me why this is 0% now. Anyone? Thanks, Timmy. Yeah, it's actually 0% because there's no device. So until it starts reading data, it starts filling from all these devices, that's when you can get a score for your devices. So this is when you can now probably aggregate to your general Microsoft Secure Score as well. So it also shows you your exposure score. All these are still empty because there's no device. I'm just doing this to show us what the portal actually looks like. Then you have recommendations. So if it had found devices and the likes, it will recommend. So you find that some, it could tell you that you need to update your Chrome OS, you need to update Adobe. If you have Adobe installed, it tells you what you need to update. And just recommendations, just like you could find the security recommendations in the general secure score, you would find the same here, or your device. So whatever you find there as security recommendations will be particular to your endpoint, so Windows, Mac, and the likes, as much as you can have on board. Remediation as well, all these speak to devices that has been onboarded and whatever action. Then inventories, list of devices, weaknesses will tell you whatever is weak on those devices, exploitable vulnerabilities, updates that you need to probably work on, vulnerabilities with no security updates, and the like. So all this just shows you, like I said, is an holistic view. Everything you're looking for is just in one page for you to access. Then an events timeline. And you also have some partnership applications you can plug in to your Defender for endpoint and a configuration management. The same also goes for identity. Sorry, I'm going against time. No, I spoke about the identity threat detection and response. So this is the dashboard. We know these accounts. Okay, I'm sorry we may not know, but this is just a cloud account. There are no hybrid infrastructure in it. So that's why we only have cloud users. But if it's a case where you have hybrid users or on-prem users, you would also identify them. It detects these identities and then provides everything. So we can see that identity score here is actually populated because we have identities. And currently, this is very low. This is very low for me. Promising that before the next time we meet again on the Defender, I'm sure you would have this populated. So see what you can do, how you can improve the score. It tells you your high privilege identities. High privilege identities, as I mentioned, would be your administrative identities. So this is your administrative identities, this current account, other admins, as you can see. So that's what you get for your dashboard on identities. You also have some health issues, what you can see, global health issues, sensor health issues. So all this can be tracked for your identities. Very quickly, we have the email and collaboration bits, the Defender for 365. So for Defender for 365 as well, you can check investigations. This will be empty as well because there's nothing here. You can also explore. So in exploring, you can find URLs, phishing, and the case may be all these kind of attacks that may have happened. So these are some example of all emails, URL clicks. If anyone had clicked on a URL that they were not supposed to click on, you'd find it here. Top URLs, campaigns, phishing campaigns, malware campaigns, as the case may be. Then we have the review page. So for user accounts that get blocked and probably they are in a compromised state, when you've run all the steps to complete that compromised account, maybe you've already reset the password, checked the administrative rights, you've checked for forwarding rules, inbox rules, you've checked for permissions and likes. You get to unblock those identities from here. So this is where you have the restricted accounts. It used to be restricted users, now it's restricted entities. I must point out that Microsoft can change at any time. And by change, what I mean is they tend to play around some of their nomenclatures. So what you see today might not be what you see tomorrow. So that's why you have to get yourself very familiar with the admin center. So this is not the restricted entities where you just find users that have been blocked, maybe restricted users as the case. Then also quarantine. So for say policies you've created for anti-spam mails or anti-phishing emails, if you are not sending them directly to the junk, you're sending them to the quarantine. As an admin, you can easily come back to the quarantine to review the ones that you want to release, say false positives that you just feel, okay, this can still go through to the user's mailbox. You can easily review them from the quarantine. Then Action Center. So this is where you track phishing campaigns. You see for every campaign you may have launched or you've launched like a simulation attack, you can easily track them here. You can also track them from this simulation attack Action Center. Oh, did I just close that? Okay, so I think I'll just take us far. I was on review, so I think I touched through Action Center, current entities. Then malware trends, but because there's no current malware, there's no malware detector, you can't find them today. You have campaigns, you have threat tracker, and you have the message trace. I'm sure for MP5 admins, we are very familiar with the extend trace, message trace, sorry. You can easily find that as well on your Defender portal. So if you are trying to look for emails, emails are missing and the case maybe they could easily also be tracked from the Defender portal. Then I spoke about the attack simulation training. Attack simulation training, this is where you used to run campaigns just to look like simulations of, say, phishing campaigns, credential harvest campaigns, as the case may be. So this is when I spoke about, say, you just got an email that you got a voucher, you got a gift card coming from your HR, and then they're asking you to click on a link. If you click on that link, if I'm your HR, you would answer question. But then I think users are now getting more educated based off recent threats and actions, as the case may be, on how you should interact with, say, emails or documents or attachments that you are not familiar with. And thank God for the Defender that actually sometimes come with policy tips. So if you realize sometimes in your Outlook, you'll find that you would you receive an email and then you see a policy at the top. It's just a small liner that tells you that you don't often receive emails from this person. So this is just some of the extent protection that you get, just to let you know that whatever link you are clicking on, just to remind you that you don't often receive emails. They may not be someone you are familiar with, so you need to be careful with that kind of emails. So these are simulations. I'm just speaking briefly on them. Like I said, All these can still be taken on particular sessions. Then we have threat policies. The policies and rules in Exchange, in the email collaboration, sorry, we have threat policies. Under threat policies, I won't be going into them. We have the preset policies. Preset policies are policies customized by Microsoft or default policies by Microsoft, just as a baseline, and say, okay, you can easily just set this as a baseline for your spam, for your phishing account, for phishing emails, for malware, for safe links and the like. So we have built-in protection, standard protection, strict protection. This one means that Microsoft will be the one controlling those profiles and those policies. So these are preset policies anyways. I won't go so deep. We have the configuration analyzer, anti-phishing policies. So when you now decide to create your own policies, you can easily create them from this portal. We have the anti-phishing policies. We have the anti-spam, anti-malware, safe attachments, safe links. All these are policies that you create as part of the Defender for Office 365. Then we have rules. So tenants allow block lists. Maybe you've noticed this particular domain always sending spam emails to your tenant. You can easily block that tenant. It also allows you to block URLs and block usernames as well. Then the email authentication, DKIM, admins are very particular, are very, very, very familiar with DKIM, and now you can configure this. Advanced delivery. Advanced delivery, this is, this case is when you have, say, for emails that are received, say, attachments that maybe skip the prevention phase and still was able to get to your tenant. Sometimes you realize that you get an email and the person tells you they attached something and you didn't get it. You may still be going through some checks by the Defender system, so you may not get it immediately. And then you notice that in a few minutes, when you go back to that email, you eventually see that attachment. This is part of the advanced delivery settings. We also have the enhanced filtering and quarantine policies. All these are part of the email. And lastly, on this side, we have the Cloud App. So we have Cloud App, Cloud Discovery. This, I don't want to believe is turned on yet, because this needs to be turned on. You have to discover all cloud applications, discover resources. But this is actually fun. This is good. So you can see the risk level of your cloud storage, your CRM, online meetings, all the discovered apps. So currently, what you have, where you have data, OneDrive, some people have access, Dropbox, Exchange, Microsoft Dynamics 365, and Skype for Business. So this is, then we have entities, their traffic, everything can be tracked. Like I said, these are the discovered applications. This is under Cloud App Discovery. You also have OAuth apps. OAuth apps are applications that you can actually manage from the Defender side. So this is where you set policies on your application. Maybe you don't want users to access some kind of applications, or you want to set permission level to which you should access some applications and the like. You would see all this, but I won't be diving into this. Like I've said, it will be in a later time. And we have an activity log for this. We also have policies that you could set up under the cloud apps as well. So that will be that for all the Defenders. So very quickly, I'll just run through this part. The reporting page. So for every Microsoft page, I'm sure we're very familiar that Microsoft will always have a rich level of reporting for each of these, for each of their resources. So you can get reporting on your device health, vulnerable devices, monthly security summary, web protection, device control, ASR rules, attack surface reduction rules. This is something that's very particular when you come to Defender for Endpoint. This is one of the way of just setting some form of protection, like a prevention rule against attacks for your device. So once you set this, you are 90% covered, and then the remaining 10% is just to check for whatever still is able to smuggle its way out of this reduction. Then we have the email and collaboration reports, cloud app reports, and also identity reporting. You can also perform some level of auditing, you get some health checks done, then permissions, which is very particular. So there are permissions, Enter ID permissions, endpoint permissions, even email and collaboration with permissions, as the case may be. And then we have settings. So settings was the one I showed to us before for endpoints, where you could see advanced features. I really want to point out the setting that allows you to connect your Intune to Defender. So I think this goes to Michael. So when this is turned on, it connects your Intune to enable sharing of device information and enhanced policy. So Microsoft Intune license not found. How come? This is an E5 tenant. But I guess I'll just check this. So once this is turned on, it actually just connects your Intune. It's a perfect handshake between your Intune and your Defender for Endpoint. It just begins to load up your device information to Defender for Endpoint. So these are some of the settings you get. We also have some other resources basically on the Microsoft Defender page. So we have Purview, Entra-ID protection, Azure Information Protection, almost deprecated. Defender, Azure Security Center, security and compliance, as the case may be. So that's it basically for our Microsoft Defender XDR today. I hope we're able to get one or two and then we're able to understand some of my ramblings that I've had today. Thank you guys for listening. Now I think we can take more questions if we have any questions. Over to you, Rafiah.
Thank you so much, Adekunle. Like it's so, we can all agree that the Microsoft Defender XDR is a robust one. Like it's so detailed. We thank you so much for this comprehensive session. And please, if anyone has more questions, if you have any questions, please ask your questions. If you need to reach out to Adekunle after the session, too, you can reach out to him on LinkedIn. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. I've shared the link. So for now, I think we just want to take one or two questions before we wrap up for today. So you can unmute yourself to ask questions if you don't mind.
Please, we have questions, we have clarifications. Go ahead and ask a question. The floor is open for question and answer. Looks like Adekunle did a great job. If there are no questions, so it's actually possible. Yeah, Abiodun, please can you go ahead and ask a question.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this wonderful
Good
session.
evening.
It has been a wonderful discussion regarding the Microsoft XDR resource. I just have a little question. I don't know. How does the plans? I mean the pricing tiers based on for the deployment of Microsoft XDR, is it based on users or devices?
Okay.
Or like
All
are
right.
there different pricing tiers for based on the features, or it's based on the number of users
Your
or
subscription.
the devices?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question, Abiodun. So the thing is, Microsoft licenses most times, I don't want to generalize now, but most times based on a user licensing model. So if you would want to get the services, you have to ensure that your users are actually licensed. So for example, the Defender for Endpoints, you may not be able to get the entire suite in one, which is why I broke it down when I said Defender for Office 365, Defender for Endpoints, Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps. All of them could be part of one license, like the Microsoft 365 E5, which is like the highest enterprise license you can get on a subscription level. Or you could also get them as add-ons. So there is the Defender for Identity as a standalone. There is the Defender for 365 as standalone. There is Defender for Endpoint as standalone. We also have Defender for Cloud App as standalone as well. But they are all user license based.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the answer. I appreciate it.
Yep.
So Abiodun, in addition to what Adekunle said, I dropped a URL in the chat for prerequisite licenses that are available.
Oh, great. All right. Thank you for that, Emmanuel.
Okay, so I think we'll just call it a wrap. For those of us that will still want to experience more of these or take part with the sessions, you can always join the WhatsApp group. The link is in the chat. Please go click on the links and you'll get updates for future sessions. We want to thank you all so much. Thank you, Adekunle. Thank you for everyone that has joined, and we want to believe you all learned. Um, yeah, you all learned. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to connect with us in our community, and we're always ready to answer, yeah, to provide all the answers you need. Thank you very, very much, and do have a blessed week ahead. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.